Why is humility such a colossal problem? Considering humility is two of the most important aspects to being an acceptable human, the issue is misconstruing the difference between humility and meekness as worthlessness. Unfortunately, Koby from One Piece shows how all three work and what to do when you're in the same situation. Watashi wa orange desu. And in exploring One Piece, I explain why you should be meek and humble to avoid feeling worthless. So what happens when you're abducted for 2 years and forced to be a modest pirate slave? Under any regular oppressive circumstance, Koby would be forced to act a certain way to avoid getting his head bashed open. Considering he was abducted by Alvida, a freight truck with a club, while he was fishing, was subjected to induced modesty, feeling worthless under a charade of humility and meekness. I personally don't enjoy feeling worthless, or anyone for that matter, so when I came across Koby, I found him to be a double-edged sword when it comes to defining true and false humility and meekness. A lot of people, myself included at one point, confuse true and false humility with being not important or weak. I mean, Luffy literally calls Koby Wimp episode 1. But that's the basis of false humility. Considering true humility is lowliness and modesty, false humility is worthlessness and hidden pride. I made a video on hidden pride if you've had any undesired feeling of pride. But as a brief explanation, hidden pride is putting your needs and wants above God, let's say survival or idol worship. Same applies to feeling worthless. No one needs feeling worthless, so this version of lowliness would be putting others first, above your health, above your self-love, and above God. Or like having a broken back, but still giving your wife piggyback rides. But naturally, true humility is the opposite, remembering I should be humble like a child who knows nothing. But while humility is a part of meekness, meekness is actually humility alongside gentle and sternness. So it can get kind of confusing because both can be used interchangeably, but just like control without problems is oppression, strength without self-control is just Spartan rage. It's somewhat understandable confusing them, since comparing the true and false versions of meekness and humility are like comparing grape and strawberry jelly. The only real difference is color until it touches your tongue. But seeing as true and false meekness and humility are so similar, the only difference is your attitude. Your attitude and God are the only two aspects determining your actions. And I know it may not feel like it, especially considering Koby was basically forced to treat Alvida like she was Bruce Wayne, when you really wanted to treat her like Brucey. There's infinite emotions, but we're only focusing on worthy and gratitude for the video's sake. Otherwise, it'd be however long this video is, plus 5 minutes. While having an attitude of worthlessness not only impacts your health in all aspects, but also gives you a feeling of never making it out. This is very bad. I can tell you, I was at the store and I thought I wasn't worthy for a box of crackers. And the mall, I thought I wasn't worthy looking in a store I wanted to go into. Which with this outlook, I literally deprived myself of self-love while giving love to others. Literally loving till it hurts. And not in the good way. But even while I was like this, being grateful contradicts the effects of depression coming from worthlessness. I mean, the brain literally releases every happy chemical when you're grateful. Like listening to your favorite music. Be grateful for the ears to listen to music. Or the food in front of you. Be grateful for the eyes, tongue, and food to see, eat, and taste. But while being roasted by the very pirate that saved you from a freight train, in half an episode, Koby shows what value balancing can do when you do it right. Which is maturing to valuing yourself and boundaries while also putting others first. You need love just like everyone else. So making sure to spend time with love, doing what you like and keeping boundaries makes it easier to love others. And I cannot explain how I struggle with this, especially since the only reason I struggle is because I move like Barry Allen, when value balancing only really grows with maturity, which is time. For Koby, that was half an episode, standing up to Alvida, who's the captain of the Miss Love Duck. So if you're anything like Koby, you likely value others over yourself, or you value yourself more than others. Which is especially dangerous considering idolatry is the former and pride is the latter, only when you make others more important than God. Which is why balancing your values are important with really anything. A better way to explain it is like a sandwich. Too much of one ingredient makes the sandwich taste like that ingredient, instead of having a good balance. Except this balance determines how you love yourself and others. Not gonna lie, this video is gonna take like an hour long, so go to the Google Sheets link in the description to fill out a form where I base the videos off from. And while you're down there, you can always subscribe and comment to let me know if it helped you. But if you want more help, there's a Discord link in the description. Alright, enough of that. While I may have overloaded you with information, sorry, learning to love yourself helps fix the balance difference. As I once said, loving others is hard when you don't love yourself enough. So loving yourself is connecting with love himself, which is reading the Bible or watching this video for more information. Think of it trying to play golf with no club, no field, and no ball. You're at a standstill emotionally and above all else, spiritually. So what really happens when you don't love yourself, right? Well, not caring for your health can affect your relationships and the people you're trying to help. Because loving yourself the right way is subjective, aside from blatantly missing the mark, there's multiple ways to love yourself, which is really just making sure you're healthy. It can be from relaxing after a long day, eating healthy after eating terribly, or the most important, being spending alone time with God. Being Koby literally gets relieved from just leaving Alvida's ship. Any form of healing is fine as long as it actually heals every part of you. Therefore, the ramifications of not loving or condemning yourself enough are resentment, exhaustion, worthlessness, and the list continues. So far as leading to self-harm and other things I shouldn't mention in this video yet. But the closest thing to say, Koby almost gave up to live his whole life as Alvida's slave. And even though Koby was saved from imminent torture, the fact finding true balance, worthiness, meekness and humility, and self-love is very, very difficult. But the only reason why it's difficult is because it's easy to understand but harder to act or run with the attitudes. Koby only ever voiced how he felt after Alvida was gone, until she busted through the room of their food cabin. And because God only helps those who help themselves, actually acting towards something is what makes growing easy. Keeping God's timing in mind, it's easy to grasp that everything you do is in your control, but nothing else. Trying to control anything other than yourself makes extra stress that's not needed. I'm personally a victim, so it'd make me happy if you comment if you were too. But when you confuse any of your timing with God's, you, and I did this, set yourself up for failure, but not ordinary failure. I'd bet you think failure as messing up and expecting you or others to condemn you for it, but failure is good. It sets you up to learn from your mistakes. Like you knock a glass and it breaks. You eventually learn spatial awareness, then the glass stops breaking. So with failing being something of a tiny victory, you should still aim to intentionally not fail. You should always do your best, even when you don't want to, because God judges your work on earth to see what you're like working for Him in heaven. It's like trying difficult homework. If you do your best and fail, you make a small victory when your teacher, God, helps you. But if you never even try, your teacher will take notes, and you know those notes are almost never good. All of that to say, the way to be an acceptable human being is to follow the Father's will, having faith in Him. Faith, trust in anything, really, is the foundation of everything. Even God created creation with the Holy Spirit, the Son, and the Father. Having God to go to, seeing as He's never once failed ever, because He's perfection itself, is why we both don't need to be perfect at anything or worry about letting yourself down or condemning yourself. It's like trying to control two different cars with one steering wheel. You're basically trying to control someone or something else when you're only able to reach what's in front of you. Then, being God is always within arm's reach, let alone in the molecules you breathe, you're always able to access the one in control. But instead of trying to control the wheel, you're letting Him drive. Like how Koby, instead of making Luffy rescue him, or in episode 3 Zoro, he lets him do his own thing, which eventually all works out. So in Koby's case, he was forced to conform to the pattern of being a slave, making him sensitive to worthlessness, false humility, and meekness, eventually being liberated from Alvida by one man's act of love and learning how to balance helping others and himself. Learning to realize self-love is just as important as helping others, like how you're liberated from eternal death from one God's act of love through His earthly death, and are only asked to follow His commandments. If you didn't catch a single lick of anything I said, just remember, you have to love God first, then yourself, then show that love to others. This helped me to put more effort into myself and how I wanted to be to myself and others. Taking a human, or a fruit, perspective, I used to think lowly of myself, like I said earlier, but I also would beat myself over the smallest things. Like if I'm good enough to get something I wanted or even prayed for. But God isn't a God of transaction. Sure, He'll bless you with peace and whatever you pray for if you listen to Him and it's in His will, but He also blesses us with life and His presence every day. I mean, I wouldn't even be here talking to you, and you wouldn't be here watching if it weren't for Him. I just want to thank God for that too. Koby even could have died within the 2 years he was on that ship, but he didn't. And if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, One Piece wouldn't even exist without him. Subscribe if you like the video and check out the best video for you or why God loves us the way He does. Where there's 2 or 3 gathered in Jesus' name, there He'll be. So let's agree you'll have a blessed, great day.